what's up? Today we have a question from Flywad3, and I'm in a game room because it's the only place I can get some peace and quiet around this camping site. I'm camper vanning around New Zealand, and I'm also sitting in a chair this big. I know that looks huge, but how cool is this? This is where I have to be sitting in order to do these questions and answers. And these things are trickier than you would think. Looks easy. It's not that easy. So, anyways, his question today was, is it still possible to gain on your vertical after one cycle of the jump manual? And at what rate would the gains come on my vertical? Thanks. So, Flywad. Flywad, that's a cool name. So, your first cycle of the jump manual, you will typically get your best gains. Maybe you've heard the term beginner gains. So beginner gains basically means there are some things that you might have very poor levels of. For example, if your form is not very developed, you can easily gain 2 to 6 inches on your form within weeks or even sooner. So once those gains are done, then you can still make incremental increases, but you don't get that beginner's gain. That, change a lot of big things and get a lot of big gains, but you still get gains. So I would say you can reasonably, unless you're already proficient with your form, which many aren't, you're probably going to gain anywhere from 2 to 6. 2 inches being for those who have okay form but are able to improve it. 6 being for those who aren't very good at all. And so after your initial cycle, you can still probably gain 1/4 of an inch to an inch a month for some period of time. That is also not something that's going to be forever sustainable because there will be at some point where that's going to drop off. But a lot of people will see from form alone that kind of increase. Let's talk about another type of beginner's gains, that is increased activation of the nervous system, increased demand on the nervous system. So the first time you start lifting weights, what happens is your nervous system says, uh-oh, I need to start sending more energy and a stronger impulse to those muscles. So what happens is people find that, really after their first recovery period, their body is already functioning more efficiently and using muscles more efficiently and giving a greater demand, which can give them a bump of a few inches. It can happen that way. I've seen it happen that way a lot. Those are fun testimonials to get. People are like, oh my goodness, I did one workout and I came back and here's what happened. And that's usually because of increased demand on the central nervous system. So then you get to your strength gains, and strength gains are coming in different variations. And the reason I say that is because you might think that you just had a huge strength gain, but really you had a change in your central nervous system that manifested as greater strength. But it wasn't functional muscle hypertrophy. It was a greater neural signal. So even though you're stronger, it's not because of more muscle fiber, it's because of a better signal to the muscle fiber. So that being said, that means basically you're using a greater percentage of what you have, and you're using it more efficiently. So that will also get better with time as well. And as you increase your plyometric ability and your reactivity, there'll be a bump in that, and then later on you'll get incremental gains. So then you get down to strength. Strength is just going to be slow and steady. You gain muscle fiber at a pretty steady rate. As long as you break it down and recover properly, you're just going to get steady ability on that. And then we'll talk about also real quick is your tendons. Tendons are extremely good way to jump higher, specifically with your running vertical leap, because you see that right there? That is a big tendon. It's called the Achilles tendon, whatever you want to call it. And it is probably the largest, most springy little tendon in the human body. And if used correctly, you can gain a lot of velocity and a lot of height on your vertical leap by using it. And so as you work out, that tendon will get stiffer and more resilient and more elastic. And that again is going to be a slow, steady process. And tendons, you want to take care of them, and you want to make sure and do that correctly. Anyways, so after your first cycle, which a lot of people can gain up to 10 inches on that first cycle, especially if you're a beginner, because you're getting beginner gains off the easy. if you come into the program and you're already fairly proficient at a lot of the things we do, you're going to be getting incremental gains, maybe some jumps here and there, but for the most part incremental gains. And I've seen things go from people getting inches per week to getting back to an inch or so a month, and it could start slowing down. Once people get into the high 30s or low to mid 40s, it really slows down. So then you're talking very incremental gains, and that's when you start your slow, steady climb to being an elite level jumper. And you know what? A lot of these numbers, there's not a pure science on them because so many people are at different levels. It's hard to give you an exact measurement of what you would gain. A lot of trainers are going to disagree with me. They're going to say the numbers you have are way too large. That's just crazy. People can't have expectations like that. And so I should note that also we're talking about your running vertical leap as well. So your standing vertical leap, because it draws on less systems, your standing vertical leap is almost purely an element of strength and some form and neural signal, whereas your running vertical leap, there's much more technique and there's much more reactive plyometric ability. So in that first cycle of the jump manual, you're not going to gain probably 10 inches on your standing vertical, but you can gain 10 inches on your running vertical because of all of the different systems that you can improve. For example, if you gained 2 to 6 inches on from your technique alone, if you grabbed a few inches from your plyometric ability and a few inches from your strength increases, and you grabbed a couple inches from your increased nervous system demand, I mean, all those, they can add up really quick, and they all take place in the running vertical leap, whereas they wouldn't take place in the standing vertical leap. So I hope this has given you an idea. They will slow down. How much they slow down will depend on how new you are. If you had major gains in your first cycle, then they'll probably drop down a little bit, not too much. If you're someone who is fairly experienced, you're going to just have to get used to slow, steady climb. That over time is what makes the difference. That little slight edge that creeps up on you, all of a sudden you realize I'm jumping significantly higher, is something that you're going to have to just get used to. And so a lot of people, after their beginner gains and then after their intermediate gains, a lot of people get frustrated and say, I'm at a plateau. Well, no, this is just where you need to really just put in that work, and it's a slow, steady climb from there. And so don't get frustrated if you had amazing gains in your first cycle and now you're just having incremental gains. So what you need to be making sure is that you're getting gains. You want to make sure you're getting gains, okay? After, your beginner gains, just make sure you're getting those slow, steady climb. And if you're getting that slow, steady climb, don't get frustrated. Just be patient and work hard. So anyways, got a little windy there. Hope that answers your question. Talk to you soon.